Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishvavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamai. Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Namah Shri Shankarananda Guru Padambu Janmane Savila Samaha Moha Graha Grasaika Karmane. Okay, so let's read the verses that we covered and then we will move forward. So we will read from 59 to 64. Satatvam mashrita shaktihi kalpayet sati vikriyaha varnabhitigata bhittau chitram nanavidham tatha adyo vikara akashaha sobakashaswarupavan akashostiti sattatvam akashepyanugacchati ekasvabhavam sattatvam akasho visvabhavakah navakashasati vyomni satchaishopi dvayam sthitam yadva pratidvanirvyomnaha gudo naso satikshate vyomni dvau sadvanitena sadekam dvigunam viyat ya shakti kalpaye vyoma sa sadvyomnorabhinnatam आपाद्य धर्मधर्मित्वं व्यत्ययेनावकल्पये सतो व्योमत्वमापन्नं व्योम्नः सत्तां तु लौकिकाः तार्किकाश्चावगच्छन्ति मायया उचितं हि तत्. Okay, so where are we now? In Panchadashi, we're in chapter 2. And what did we see last time? We saw that with Brahman as the base, like a canvas, Maya projects this entire world of names and forms. And it's as though there is a canvas and different kinds of paintings in it, different kinds of colors, different people, different things, sentient and insentient. And although they look and appear different, they are all nothing really but the canvas. So Maya gives us this seeming understanding or belief that the world is just names and forms. It makes us get lost in all of the names and forms, and our attention goes there, and it never goes to the canvas. So in the same way, we just see the world in the very, very beginning stages. We just see the world. We're not even paying attention to the substratum of the world, which is existence. We say that the world exists. So the world is a quality. The world is the substance and existence is a quality. So we take the world to be the substance, the main thing, and existence is the quality. So the world is the main attraction. It's the subject and existence is the predicate. World is the substance, existence is a quality. And so we live our lives this way, not knowing that there's actually a reality underlying all of this. And this is the work of Maya. So Maya hides the fact that there's an underlying reality in the world of names and forms. There's an underlying reality amidst all the elements that are projected. So what does a Vedantin have to do? The first thing is to be able to separate out that underlying reality. Because all I'm seeing right now is names and forms. I am not privy, or I'm not understanding or experiencing that there is existence at the base of all this. So the first thing Advaita Vedanta has to do is to separate out existence, to show that there's something called existence. And that existence is Sat or Brahma. So to show that there's something called existence and there's something called space. Why space? Because space is the first projection of Maya. So space is the first projection of Maya. So first we want to kind of separate it. Then the book says, okay, Swami Vidyaranyaji says, so the first modification is Akasha. And space or Akasha derives its existence from Brahman or Sat, existence. And there's a difference between the two because the nature of Sat or existence is existence. But Akasha, space, has two natures. One is that it exists, and two, it's avakasha. It accommodates all. So already here there's a difference. Second is there's a difference, again, if you would say property. Again, existence is just existence. But for space, it has existence and the property of transmitting sound. So again, there's this difference. So create a separation to sort of know that there's an underlying reality amidst this world. And this world is composed of the 5 elements. Okay, so that's fine. So then what happens here? So now everybody's trying to see, how do we extract existence from it, right? How do we gain this knowledge that existence is the underlying substratum? So that we're going to see today, right? So we'll start from verse 65. Yadyatha vartate tasya tathatvam bhati manataha. Yadyatha vartate tasya tathatvam bhati manataha. Anyathatvam brahmeneti. Anyathatvam brahmeneti. Nyayoyam sarvalaukikaha. Nyayoyam sarvalaukikaha. Yadyatha vartate tasya tathatvam bhati manataha. Anyathatvam brahmeneti. Nyayoyam sarvalaukikaha. So what this verse is essentially saying is, use the correct means of knowledge to come to the fact that there's an underlying reality amidst this world of names and forms. Use correct knowledge. Yadyatha vartate. When something is as it is, tasya tathatvam, its reality is through mana. Mana means pramana. So pramana, or the correct means of knowledge, due to this pramana, we know a thing as it is. So through correct means of knowledge, we know a thing as it is, but anyathatvam brahmena, through delusion, or what we call illusion, we know something other than it is. And nyayaha ayam, this is common knowledge. Nyaya here means it's common knowledge. Sarvalaukikaha, amongst people. So let's take a look at how we know things in the world. If we want to come to the reality of the world, which is beyond the mind and the senses, what form or what means of knowledge should we use? We cannot use books. We cannot use ordinary books. We cannot use our senses. We cannot use our eyes, our ears, our nose. we cannot use our mind, we cannot use our intellect, we cannot use these tools, because what we're trying to get to is something that's beyond the senses and beyond the mind. So to come to know Brahman or Sat, we need to use the correct means of knowledge, which is called Upanishad or Shruti. And in this case, we're using Chandogya Upanishad. Sadeva Somya Idam Agra Asi. We're using that particular Upanishad. In the same way, to see the moon in all its magnanimity, one needs a telescope. To see bacteria, one needs a microscope. So for every single field, there's a specific means of knowledge that we employ. So if we wanted to look at the time, we don't need to look at the Upanishads. You use your eyes for that. If we want to taste and see how something, whether it's sweet or sour, you use your tongue for that. But very specifically here, it says that when we are inquiring into something that's beyond the mind and senses, we cannot use something that's in the realm of the mind and senses. We have to use the Upanishads, which deal with that field, which is beyond the mind and senses. It deals with that field beyond the mind and senses. Although the words of the Upanishads are very much in the mind and senses, that is true, but these are deep revelations from our rishis who have actually experienced that truth. The second thing is, in the world, our senses also delude us, right? So there are many occasions where we see this, where we feel that the sky is blue. We look at the sky and we feel like it has that shape and we feel like it's blue. But upon deeper inquiry, we understand that that's not the case. It's just the way the light is scattering and the way that we perceive it through our eyes. Again, when we look at our experience, the sun's rising and setting, but we know that's not the case also. It's because of the movement of the earth. So even our perceptions delude us in the worldly sense. Many times people buy certain clothes that make them look thinner than they are. But then when we weigh ourselves, we're actually much more than that, right? So when we use the wrong source of knowledge, then what we get is delusion. What we get, it's delusion. It's called Brahma. It's a delusion. But when we use the right means of knowledge for the right field, that is called Prama. That is called knowledge. And so in this, now he's going to go through this segment. He's going to go through how to use the right means of knowledge, which is the Upanishad, but he's also going to back it up by logic, because he knows that, in Vedanta, it's very, very clear the way we learn things is we base it on the scriptures, but we also are able to think through it and understand it rationally. And finally, we're able to also live it in our daily lives. So let's see now, verse 66, right? Evam shruti vicharat prag. Evam shruti vicharat prag. Yatha yad vastu bhasate. Yatha yad vastu bhasate. Vicharena viparyeti. Vicharena viparyeti. Tatastachintyatam viyata. Tatastachintyatam viyata. Evam shruti vicharat prag. Yatha yad vastu bhasate. Vicharena viparyeti. Tatastachintyatam viyata. So here it says that Evam shruti vicharat prag. So before applying the Shruti, before applying the Upanishads, yatha yad vastu bhasate. A thing seems a certain way. Before before we inquire, before we use the Upanishads, we don't know that there is something deeper to this world. We don't know that there's an underlying reality. We don't know that we are existence and consciousness, that we are pure awareness. So before inquiring, before really taking to the Upanishads, we just see things as they are. And we just take that and we take it for granted that this is how everything is. But vicharena viparyeti. But vichara means through correct inquiry, viparyeti. Things are different now. We understand things to be different from what we thought they would be. And so now he says, let us now discuss the nature of space. Let's now inquire into how space is, how we might have had our own preconceived notions of space, but now using the scriptures, let us inquire deep into space and we'll see that everything changes. Okay, so 67. Bhinne viyatsati shabda bhedat buddhescha bhedataha vaivadishvanuvrittam sata natu vyometi bhedadhihi. Bhinne viyatsati shabda bhedat buddhescha bhedataha vaivadishvanuvrittam sata natu vyometi bhedadhihi. So bhinne, there is a difference now, vyat sati. There's a difference between space and Brahman, space and sat. What is the difference? Shabda bhedat, buddhesha bhedat. Shabda bhedat. There's a difference in the word, right? So there's Brahman, there's existence, and space. So the first thing is to separate out that underlying reality. There is sat, its existence, and there is space. There are two different words. They're not synonyms. So this is the first difference between them. The second is buddhescha bhedataha. And even the things that are conveyed by them are different. So when we think about existence, we think about isness, that which is. And when we think about space, that which accommodates all, as we saw before. So even in the way we comprehend those terms, there's a difference. And he says, Vaivadishu anuvrittam sat. The big difference here is that existence is all pervading, right? You have two things here, and two things here. One is the substance and one is the property, right? So we normally think that space is the substance and existence is the property. So we say space exists. So we take space to be the substance and existence to be the property. But here he's clearly explaining why existence is the substance and space is the property or attribute, because he's saying that space is something that's all pervasive. Anuvrittam means something that's all pervasive. So, existence is all pervasive. So existence is there in space, in air, in fire, in water, in earth. Existence is present in everything. So everything is, right? This computer is, this book is, this book holder is, I am. Isness or existence it pervades every single thing, every single element in and through the element. So this word vaivadishu means air, etc. Anuvrittam sat, that existence, it pervades, it permeates, it goes in and through everything. Natu vyoma, but space does not do that. Iti bhedadihi, and this is what we know to be the difference. So space is limited in that it does not pervade or permeate every single thing. Yes, space is there in many things, and space accommodates many things, Space is there in many things, but it is not there in every single thing. So naturally, what he's establishing here is that space has to be the property or attribute, and existence has to be the substratum, because existence is a more pervasive one. And the one that's always more pervasive has to be the substance, because it's that which holds. And the one that's less pervasive is that which is held. That has to be the property or attribute. So if we take, for example, water and wave, right? So what there is the substance? There, the substance is water. Why is water the substance? Because it pervades every single place, every single part of the ocean. What is the property? The property is wave, because wave is not there in every single part of the ocean. If you go deep, deep down into the ocean, there is no wave. So that which is most pervasive becomes the substance. That which is less pervasive becomes the property. So now we'll think about gold. Gold is the substance and bracelet is the property, because gold may pervade all parts of the bracelet, but the bracelet doesn't necessarily pervade every single part of gold. So there's a limitation. Gold pervades the bracelet, the ring, the necklace, etc. But the bracelet doesn't pervade the ring, nor does the ring pervade the earring, etc. So gold is the substance. So in the same way, the first point is that there is an underlying reality in this creation. Look beyond the names and forms. Let's separate out that reality so that at least our attention goes to that. And then the next point is that reality is existence, and that existence is the substratum of everything. Why is it the substratum? Because it's that which pervades every single thing. So when we say space exists, I exist, this book exists, even if we make those statements, now the new understanding is that that existence is a substratum, and all of these things are just qualities or attributes. Okay? So now he's going to go further. You know, we might think, okay, why are you saying all this? So he has a very, very profound point to prove. Okay? So let's go to the next verse. Sadvastvadikavrittitvat sadvastvadikavrittitvat dharmi vyomnastu dharmata dharmi vyomnastu dharmata thiya satah prithakare bruhi vyomakimatmakam bruhi vyomakimatmakam sadvastvadikavrittitvat dharmi vyomnastu dharmata thiya satah prithakare bruhi vyomakimatmakam. So what is he saying here? He says Sat. Sat we know is existence, is Brahman. Sad vastu adhika vrittitvat. Is adhika vritti means it's more pervasive. So this is the logical now, you know, the logical thinking. The thinking based on the Upanishad was Sadeva Somya idam agra asi. That existence alone existed and everything else came after. Names and forms superimposed on existence. But how do we know that existence is a substratum? What is a logical analysis? So he says, Sad vastu adhika vritti. So sad, existence, is more pervasive. And because it's more pervasive, it's called dharmi. Dharmi is also another word for locus or substance. So sad vastu adhika vrittitvat. Because it is more pervading, or pervasive, it is called dharmi, the locus. Vyomnastu dharmata. Vyomna is another word for space. So there are many words for space here. You'll see vyoma, vyat, akasha, etc. Vyomnastu dharmata. And because space is less pervading, it's a dharma, it's an attribute. Okay? Dhiya satah pritakkare. Dhiya satah pritakkare. So when by dhiya means by the intellect, sat is separated from akasha. So from sataha means from sat, pritakkare. Sat is separated from space. We're not doing this physically. We're not doing some magical experiment. We're just separating it in our understanding that one is the substance, one is the attribute, right? Now he says, Bruhi, you tell me, Vyoma kimatmakam, what is the nature of space? So you're saying one is the substance, the other one is the attribute. You tell me, what is the nature of space? Okay, so let's see now what he has to say about what's the nature of space. 69. Avakashatmakam tachet, avakashatmakam tachet, asat taditi chintyata, asat taditi chintyatam, bhinnam satos asachaneti, bhinnam satos asachaneti, vakshi chedyahadistava. Vakshi chedyahadistava avakashatmakam tachet asat taditi chintyatam bhinnam sato satchaneti vakshi chedyahadistava. So he says here that, okay, I'll tell you the nature of Akash. I'll tell you the nature of space. Avakashatmakam. Right? It is that which accommodates all. You're asking for the nature of space. It is that which accommodates all. Okay, so this is what the Vedantin is saying. Space accommodates all. But the Purva Pakshan says, I think that space is asat. It's completely not real. It's completely not real. Because Bhinnam sat, if you say that it's different from sat, then it must be a sat, right? It's different from sat, so it must be a sat. And if you say that it's not, then you are asatchana, then you are contradicting yourself. So what does he say? Look, you have two things here, right? You have two things here. You have sat or existence, which is more pervasive, which is the substance, and you have space, which is less pervasive, which is the attribute, right? And we concluded that these two things are different. One is the substance, one is the attribute. There are the nature of existence is existence. The nature of space is that it accommodates all and it transmits sound, right? So they are different. Now, if existence or sat and space are different, and if sat is existence, then what has to be different from sat is non-existence. So therefore, space is non-existent, right? So what he's saying, it has to be non-existence. It has to be complete non-existence. And the Purva Paksha, or the opponent, is saying, and if you say it's not non-existence, you're contradicting yourself. Because you said that space is different from existence, and what's different from existence has to be non-existence. So therefore, space is non-existent. So everybody gets this? Yeah? It's a little bit mentally chewing your brain, right? So what he says is, okay, now I'm going to tell you what I mean. I'm going to tell you what I mean. Verse number 70. And don't worry, after we go through all the verses, I'll summarize everything because I saw one comment there. Bhati ti ched bhatu nama. Bhati ti ched bhatu nama. Bhushanam maikasya tat. Bhushanam maikasya tat. Yada sadbhasamanam tata, yada sadbhasamanam tata, mithya swapna gajadivata, mithya swapna gajadivata, bhati ti ched bhatu nama, bhushanam maikasya tata, yada sadbhasamanam tata, Mithya swapna gajadivata. So, bhati iti ched. If you say that space appears, right? So you're saying that space is non-existent, but space appears. Bhati iti ched. If you say space appears, then the Vedantin says, bhatu nama, let it appear. Why? Bhushanam maikasya tat. Because this is the ornament of Maya. This is the ornament of Maya. What is the ornament of Maya? Yad asad bhasamanam tat. That which is really not existent, it appears to be there. So, yad asad, that which is non-existent, bhasamanam, it appears to be there. And therefore, it's called mithya, mithya, illusion, apparent reality. Just like swapna gajadivat, just like an elephant seen in a tree. So therefore, what is really happening here is that we slowly come to the conclusion that space is nothing but an appearance in existence. Logically. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through this process now without the verses. Now we've covered the verses. Now I'll walk you through the process so that it becomes very, very clear in our mind. Okay, so first step. First, I'll give you the background of Advaita Vedanta and what we're trying to do here. Then we'll go to space and existence. Advaita Vedanta, when we come to Vedanta, what happens is we're unaware that there is something deeper than the world. We come to the world, we're unaware. We get lost in the sights, the sounds, the names, the forms, and all of our experiences. We're unaware. So the first thing Vedanta has to do is say, listen, amidst all of your experience of the world, there is an underlying substratum. Find that out. So what Vedanta then does is says the underlying substratum is what we call Sat or existence. So now you have two things. You have this underlying existence, which is this isness. We can see, how do we come to this isness? We can see that there is a common pervading thread in everything. Everything is. We don't say it is not. We don't say this book is not. Everything is. If we just see what is the common underlying thread between all humans, we feel like we all have these minds and intellect. If we bring together animals and humans, again, there's that common thread of sentiency, that we're all able to think, we're all able to feel, we're all able to experience. But then again, if we say, well, there has to be a common underlying thread between humans, between animals, and even insentient beings like rocks, like grass, like the ground. What is the common thread there? Because that which is the common thread must be the substratum of everything, right? And so it cannot be, it has to be something that's there present in everything. And that common thread we see is isness or existence. Even an insentient thing is. A rock is. The ground is. The road is. The car is. The animal is. The being is. So we find that the common thread that's tying us all together is this existence, this isness. So Vedanta says, now focus on this isness, right? Later on, it will come to this isness is you. So this isness is there, and there's the world of names and forms. And now you have two things, but I want you to focus on the isness. Have that focus on the isness, that when you look around, you look at things, your mind is gravitating towards that isness, that existence, that the names and forms are there and they're just appearing, but the underlying thing is just this existence. Come to that and let your mind go to that. Now, okay, so then the Vedanta will say, now I want to take you a step deeper. These names and forms that you see, they are actually not different from existence. They are existence alone. They are all appearing in and through existence, because without existence, they have no appearance. They cannot appear. Without gold, the bracelet, the ring, the earring cannot appear. Without existence, nothing can appear. If you take out existence from space, will space appear? If you take out existence from air, will air appear? So then what Vedanta tries to say is, I separated it for you because I wanted your attention to go into the substratum, but now I'm telling you, even the seeming name and form that appears before your very eyes is nothing but the substratum. And therefore, we cannot take it as absolute reality, because it is nothing but existence alone. And this is exactly what he's trying to establish through space. That if you take existence and space, existence is more pervasive, space is less pervasive, existence is the substance, and space is the attribute, the property, and they appear. So what is they're different then? Space is existence, and therefore what's different from existence must be non-existent. Sure, so space is non-existent. It is, but yet it appears. So because it's not really there, it cannot independently exist, but it appears. We call it as mithya. And through this process, we logically prove the falsity of space. So it's not only scripturally based, but logically also, our mind can follow that train of thought. Now, some might say, okay, this is all good, but what does it do for my life? What do I do about it in my life? So as I said, a constant meditation can be just keep bringing your mind to the base, to the substratum. Whether for you it's existence or whether it's consciousness, it's actually the same thing. But keep bringing the mind to the base. And then from there, interact the world. If we keep the names and forms in front and the substratum in the bottom, then we will get lost in the world. Our teacher in the Vedanta course, he always gave a really nice example. He said that in the computer, when you're about to type, you position your fingers, A, S, T, F, etc. You position your fingers and you type. And when you position your fingers the right way and you type, then all the words come out clearly. Everything is very clear. But when we misposition our fingers and then type, it's all jarbled, isn't it? So our ground, our basis for everything has to be that existence. It has to be that truth, that Brahman. And when that's our basis for everything, then when we type or when we interact through life, then it's clear. It's clear because this is the center, the basis, the foundation. But when that's not our foundation, then everything becomes confusing. And I will share one practical point and then we will conclude. Many people ask this question about how do I balance my life? I have family life, I have work life, I have, spiritual life, I have social life, I have all kinds of life. How do I create balance? Well, Vedanta is not about creating balance. It's about being centered. Because when we sort of try to create balance, that means that there's a disconnect from some element or the other, and we always find ourselves juggling here and there. But if everything is centered on that truth, family life is also a way to get to that truth. Career is also a way to get to that truth. Social life is also healthy and a way to get to that truth. And that truth is centered like a sun. Then there is absolutely no conflict. So while we are doing this logical exercise to come to the reality, a practical and an intimate thing is to make that reality my center, my foundation, so that every single thing connects to it. And if there's a disconnect somewhere, I should also be aware of what that is. This is Sat. This is being not only knowing what Sat is, but it's being firmly rooted in Sat. Okay? So today we'll stop here. I'll say the closing prayer and more exercise, mental exercise, we will do in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay. We'll pause for questions.